Hey everybody, Data Guy Michael here. Just wanted to jump into another example video. This one's going to be a little quicker than the previous one. I'm really looking to give you more examples. This one actually interacts with two really common things. So tracking the sentiment of stocks and actually scraping the web for the news articles to get that sentiment, and then actually interacting with GenAI's or GenAI APIs. This one specifically will look at Gemini, but this one I'll walk you through how we kind of install everything. I actually have the code already typed out. The last one was more of a kind of code along with me, but I will have the full GitHub with requirements.txt and everything you need to do to get this up and running on your own system. And without further ado, let's kind of jump in here. Here is actually the GitHub. But let's go ahead and get to the code here. And so what you're going to want to do is go in, clone this GitHub or download it to your local machine. Again, link will be in the comments. And we're going to be looking at this this Python notebook here. And then when you first get started, just like last time, we're going to use Conda to manage our environments. I actually have the environment already, but I'm still going to show you the same steps. So Conda activate, and we're going to just call it our NLP environment. That's what we already have. And then importantly, you're going to want to actually change directories. So CD, and you're going to go into whatever directory this is in. If I do that, now, since I've cloned this GitHub down, I actually have the requirements.txt, so I'm just going to pip install. And instead of having to list all these libraries, as you can see, there's quite a few, we can actually just use requirements.txt to do it for us. So pip install -r, which tells pip to just read the txt file. And you'll see mine are also already satisfied, but that's it. In requirements, just to show you this is what it looks like. So that's one of the prerequisites you'll need. The second one is you're going to need to set up a .environment, which is very simple. Just new file, type .environment. It won't let me because I already have one, but your sample. So all it's going to contain is, you actually don't even need the open AI one. You just need Gemini API key, and then you're just going to copy and paste your key, and I'll show you where to get that and link that as well in the description. All right, so you're just gonna come click on the link in the description, link it to your Google account, accept the terms, and you're gonna hit this button here, create API key. You can see I've already set mine up, but I think I can show, yeah, I could show this, and then you just hit create, and then you just copy the API key and you paste it right in here. You don't need quotations or anything for this .environment. Just paste it right in here, and then you should be good to run this code. So let's test it. Let's see that it runs. And I'll kind of, as I said, the code's already explained, but I'll go through and kind of explain what each step is doing, and then you can kind of follow along. Definitely reach out in the comments if you have questions or run into any issues. But here we just call Wikipedia to get a list of the top 500 or the S&P 500 companies, which are the 500 largest companies publicly traded. We actually see there's 503. There's a couple that actually have subsidiaries that their tickers come up. Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google, actually has a couple, but they're actually just one. And then here we're gonna call a list called tickers, where we shorten our selection, and I'll discuss why. It's just for computation and runtime purposes, but if you wanted to scale, you could definitely build this up, or keep all 500, or maybe some subset. And this is actually the Magnificent 7, which is like a Fang plus a couple, and kind of fits better than Fang because some of them have changed their names. So as you can see, there's not even an F there anymore because Meta used to be Facebook. But get into our first function, or technically second function, but first big function. This is where we scrape our news. So we define the function as get headlines with one argument of ticker. And we're gonna then iteratively pass our list of tickers into it, and then we just look at finviz.com and we pass it iteratively with this ticker. I'll go ahead and, oops, I didn't run this one. Okay, so we defined our function. Now we're going to call it here for each ticker in our list up here. And then we're going to put those into all headlines. So we initialize all headlines as an empty list, and then we're going to scrape. So what that's doing is it's fetching from each version of this URL for all 7 tickers, all their headlines. So we'll see 700 headlines. These are big companies. If you want smaller companies, you might have less. Next, we import our transformers. This is PyTorch and HuggingFace. So it's actually going to run that transformer locally on your machine. So we run that. Might take a second here. And I believe, oh yeah, this one actually takes a little while. Yeah. And then here we can see, okay, 466 negative, 233 positive. Here's a sample of what it looks like. And you're going to see a couple things. You're going to see, okay, that was for Google, the time, the headline, and then was it positive or negative, and then the score. And importantly, the score isn't like 100 or 1.0 is positive, 0 is negative. The score is actually a confidence score that PyTorch is confident that it's positive or negative. And next, this is the part where we're actually going to interact with Google's Gemini API. And so we just call our API key that we set up in our sample environment and use load environment to get that from our environment variable. And then we define our Gemini model by calling the generative model, and we define it for Gemini 1.5 Flash. This is one of the free options. I believe it's, yeah, you get 15 runs per minute. So next we're going to pass these same headlines to Gemini. So you'll see this prompt here is the same as if you were typing into ChatGPT or Claude or any of the major LLMs you've probably interacted with. This is just passing this prompt to the API. So we tell it to respond specifically in this exact format. So a sentiment, positive or negative, and then score of a number between 0 and 1. And it will do that for all 700 headlines. So we can run this one, but I'm not going to run this next one because we can only run 15 per minute. So we have a limiter here that it waits. You can see time.sleep 60. So we're going to run 15 times. So we run, jumping around here, but for I in range 0, length of headlines, and then batch size of 15. So we'll never run more than 15 per minute. So it's going to take quite a bit of time to run all 700. You could definitely turn this up if you wanted to pay for a premium tier of Gemini, but it is really nice to get used to interacting with these APIs. I know when I was starting my journey and going through it, the harder part, I could go through like a Titanic example, but the harder part was understanding how to interact with these APIs and really establish all these building blocks. So that's kind of why I like this example, because not only are we first learned to, or we first scraped the web, got our headlines in, then we also established a local, running on my local machine, transformer model with PyTorch and HuggingFace. And then we also learned how to interact with the Gemini API. They made it quite simple, especially these days. And then how we can call that and bring, so we have all these different methods, right? We scraped, we did a local, and then we called an API, and then we're going to mesh them all back together here. So you can see it assigned positive or negative, and then we bring it all together into one final data frame. And from here, we could compare if we think PyTorch is Gemini or Gemini is more accurate, if we want to use maybe a combination of both, and then maybe use that to further train some financial models, or there's so many ways you could take this. But I, again, just think this is a really great example of how to use all these different building blocks and build it up to this final product or final house, or what have you. You've all your different parts, and every part is vital or the whole thing will fall down. Yeah, and I just wanted to provide a quicker example and provide some more code to you all. If you have any questions, definitely feel free, and I hope you do reach out in the comments. If you liked the video, found it helpful, Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Looking to post at least a couple times a week. I'm also setting up a newsletter. It'll all be linked in the description there. Gonna take some drink, sorry. That was once again my Sodastream. Makes an appearance every video, I think. But yeah, just really appreciate the support so far. Hoping to, again, help out in your data science journey. I definitely found videos like this helpful when I was starting. And yeah, I wanted to just give you this shorter, but still very significant amount of building blocks and show kind of how to connect all the different pieces.